please.
Director Chacon. Director Heldman.
Here.
Director Riki.
Here.
Director Hawkins.
Here.
Director Escui.
Here.
Director Vasquez.
Present.
Director Camacho Rodriguez.
Present.
President Apodaca.
Here. Will Director Hawkins lead us in the invocation, please?
Please bow your head. Our Heavenly Father, we want to thank you for allowing us to meet and in a condition like we are now. Thank you for being present and letting us be in your presence. Please guide us all through the meetings, and please watch over Central Basin, watch over each and every one of us to give us the courage and the knowledge to do what we need to do. And please watch over each and every one of us as we help. Some of us have health issues that we need to take care of, and we need your help on some of those. And in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Our flag is bright in color, brilliant in courage, and firm in faith. To these let us add our sincere pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated.
Public comments and presentations. Do we have any?
Yes, we have one. Director Leticia Vasquez-Wilson is requested to speak to public comments.
Dear members of, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, over the past 6 months and since the meter charge was voted upon by the majority of this board, I requested that Mr. Hunt carefully document the details of the benefits each purveyor receives from Central Basin. As recently as November the 14th, I sent Mr. Hunt an email as follows. I'm in receipt of the attached letters of protest by the City of Lakewood and Walnut Park Mutual regarding the meter charge. Is there a reason why the billing statement failed to include how the meter charge was calculated? Is there a reason the benefits each purveyor receives has not been detailed and not included in the billing statement mailed to each purveyor? Mr. Hunt's response was, Director, the bill was sent in our normal fashion. It is a financial transaction and not a public relations stunt. Kevin. I remain, very concerned about our general manager's unwillingness to do his job and to provide the purveyors details of the benefits that they get in exchange. My response was, this is exactly where your incompetence is reflected. Who in their right mind is going to pay a bill without first knowing what the bill is for? Each of us gets a bill from our water department, our utility department, our credit card holder companies. And in those bills, we get a detail of what we pay for. So it makes sense. It only makes sense when a contractor submits a bill to Central Basin for payment. They send us a detail of the service that they provided this agency. Mr. Hunt's response is a reflection of his outright disrespect and disregard for the communities that we service. Currently, Central Basin is in a lawsuit because of Mr. Hunt's unwillingness to share what those benefits are. During the meter charge discussion, three experts with three different opinions stated that Central Basin had to make its case that the charge was a reimbursement for services rendered. So long as Mr. Hunt refuses to properly document and communicate with the purveyors the details of those services that are being provided by Central Basin ratepayers will continue to shoulder the burden of costly legal services that are being provided to defend this lawsuit. I ask at this time that this board come together and do something about this. Thank you, and I will submit my email as a copy of this email for the record to our city clerk. To the clerk of this board. Thank you.
Mr. President,
Yes.
may I have clarification from the director, please? Director.
Question?
You paint all the purveyors with a broad brush. Not all purveyors have resisted or sent letters of protest. Some purveyors have paid upon presentation of the invoice from Central Basin.
Right, yes, thank you.
If you would
Yeah.
clarify that some purveyors are resistant to paying the service charge.
Yes, thank you for that, Director Origi. And the purveyors that have submitted letters of protest are the purveyors that are suing Central Basin. So with the exception of, however, I do find it important for Central Basin and our general manager to gather the data on the benefits that each purveyor gets, irrespective of whether a purveyor is suing us. I think it's very important for folks to understand the benefits that they get from Central Basin. And again, you know, this is the heart of this lawsuit. What are the benefits? I guess we'll be discussing this issue. I won't further exacerbate, but yeah, thank you.
That's the last presentation, Code Director.
Okay, we're done with the presentation. Item 3. Agenda item 3.
Yeah, any other walk-around items? None? Okay, MWD activities update?
All right, good morning, directors. I have a couple of items. First is regarding operations, is the second lower feeder pre-stressed concrete cylinder pipe rehabilitation. So Metropolitan is continuing repairs to reinforce the segments of the second lower feeder pipeline as part of their large capital improvement program, part of their pre-stressed concrete cylinder rehab program, also referred to as PCCP. So about 28 miles of this pipeline will be relined with steel to ensure the future reliability. Long-term rehabilitation is being staged in this area for a period of 8 to 10 years. And currently Metropolitan is relining 4.5 miles of this area. So it has recently begun and will continue through June of next year. And imported water service connections with Central Basin Service Area are located in the city of Lakewood and Signal Hill. So since May, earlier this year, 2019, Metropolitan has convened meetings with all agencies affected, and Metropolitan will continue to work closely with member agencies in the cities. Second, I wanted to update you on the Stormwater for Recharge pilot program. Last month, Metropolitan Board approved to fund $7.5 million to launch a second stormwater pilot program. This is designed for developing and monitoring stormwater for recharge projects and would provide funding for installation of monitoring equipment or new construction, along with 3 years of reporting and monitoring of the stormwater recharge. So this is an additional pilot program that the board approved, similar to the one last September. That program was developed to capture stormwater flows and recharge or reuse for irrigation purposes. This particular pilot program just approved is for capture of stormwater to recharge into the groundwater basin, and would be have a design capability of up to 40 acre-feet per year. So again, these pilot programs are being launched for Metropolitan to collect data, learn more about this, and observe the water supply benefits and yield in an effort to get a better understanding of that. Lastly, I just wanted to update you on the San Diego County Water Authority. So regarding a proposed settlement between Metropolitan and San Diego County Water Authority, on November 15th, Metropolitan made a statutory offer to compromise to the San Diego County Water Authority to resolve several rate cases filed by their agencies. So for close to 10 years, there's been ongoing litigation between the two agencies. Metropolitan Board and many prominent leaders of San Diego are desiring a more collaborative approach to providing water services to the region. So with another upcoming trial, it is in the spirit of cooperation that Metropolitan is proposing a resolution to the lawsuits that will set all parties on a more positive and productive course. This is in an effort to bring closure to long-standing disputes and to create an opportunity to find more common ground to working together. This offer may be accepted within 30 days and is otherwise deemed withdrawn. If it is not accepted, the remand trial will proceed and the remaining cases may then be litigated. So we will keep you updated as this continues as well. That's all I have for my updates.
Thank you. Consent calendar.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question regarding her presentation. I know that the city of Lakewood has their local stormwater capture program that has been talked about as one of the pilot programs for the Metropolitan Water District. Were there any submissions from any of the purveyors in the Central Basin Service Area?
So Metropolitan has applications that will be opening in January. So we will be accepting applications in January for that, for the smaller reuse for irrigation purposes. And then the second stormwater pilot program that they just approved for groundwater recharge, those applications will be accepted starting March of next year. So we've already been in discussions with Lakewood. They have implied their interest in, participating in that program. So we look forward to, getting more information from them on that.
Thank you. Are there any other purveyors that have expressed an interest?
We have not heard
applying?
any yet. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Consent calendar 5 through 9. Do we have any specifics here of anyone you'd like to pull? If not, do I have a vote to approve?
Move to approve.
Actually, I would like to pull, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I would like to pull items A and also B. 6A and 6B. Thank you.
All right.
Move the balance of the calendar.
Second that.
Director Chacon?
Yes.
Director Heldman?
Yes.
Director Urigi?
Yes.
Director Hawkins?
Yes.
Director Escudi?
Yes.
Director Vasquez?
Yes?
Director Camacho Rodriguez?
Yes.
President Apodaca?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Director Vasquez.
Item 6A. Let's see. 2255-6. Would you identify who that
Yes.
is to, Mr. Hamilton? Thank you.
So those items, this is agenda item 6A, relate to check numbers 22556, which is Hazen and Sawyer. As the October board meeting stated, this was for professional services contract, the condition assessment and upgrade for the Rio Hondo pump station. The amount of that check was $7,270. For check number 22560, that was made payable to MESAC. That's the annual membership renewal for $255. And finally, check number 22562 was made payable to Nosman for legal services, general counsel, August 2019, in the amount of $23,275.97.
Okay. Now, with respect to check number 22556 to Hazen and Sawyer, I know that we have an item on the agenda with respect to that issue. How much has been paid to Hazen and Sawyer thus far?
Billing up to September is $75,205 out of $95,250 for phase one.
Oh, okay. So 75 what?
$75,205.
205, okay.
That's up through September.
Okay, and that's for phase 1 of the project?
Correct, which is the conditions assessment and preliminary design report.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we have not exceeded that. All right, so I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve demands 72, demand numbers 22556 and 22, MESAC. Would you tell me again who that is?
That is the
Municipal Information Systems Association of California.
And how is that, Yeah, how does that help us carry out our mission?
It's a consortium of IT professionals that share information and help with a listserv, as well as membership into the SoCal chapter. It basically gives us resources to over 300 IT professionals to help with various issues, as well as discounts on IT training.
Okay. Does our staff participate in any IT training?
I do, yes.
You do? Okay. How much training do you
Typically do 1 to 3 classes a year.
a year? Oh, okay. Do you find them beneficial?
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
Even beyond the discounts though, the membership itself, the ability to be able to share content with other professionals in the municipal area and to get help on design, RFPs, vendor selection, it's all well worth the cost.
Okay. Who oversees memberships and memberships to organizations?
Depends on what type of membership.
They're in our budget, and you'll be different.
Some departments manage their own.
Oh, okay.
Like, I am a member of the California Municipal Treasurers Association, but there's others that are maybe district-wide, and I believe those fall under Tammy's department.
Okay. Yeah, the reason why I ask is because I understand the importance of Central Basin being involved in all of these professional organizations. I believe that it's necessary for our organization to be engaged professionally and for our employees to have a network of other professionals to reach out to. However, I'm still puzzled as to why the Chamber of Commerce membership has not been recommended as a membership that is necessary for Central Basin to continue to carry out, its mission in our region. So we're approving memberships to a number of professional organizations with the exception of the Chambers of Commerce. And in my opinion, the Chambers of Commerce are as important as these other professional organizations. So if we're making room in the budget for the other professional organizations, I believe we need to make room in the budget for the chamber memberships as well. So I'm just trying to understand how this happens and who recommended that the Chamber of Commerce memberships be eliminated from our budget and why that's the case. Why the thought isn't that all of these organizations should be organizations that Central Basin is engaged with and that there's a benefit for us to be involved with all of them. I'm still not understanding why the chambers have been deleted from the budget. Someone recommended it, but I guess we'll get to that when we get to that item. The other one is with respect to the
I'm going to probably have a question for you, Randy.
yeah. And the last one, 2256-2, and that is for NASAM, and what amount is that?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
Demand 22562. That's the last one in 6A. What's the amount?
$23,275.97.
And that is for payment of legal services for what month?
For the month of August.
Okay. Thank you.
How long have we been doing business with this company that we want to give this amount to?
The MESAC, it's a membership, so it's a membership, it's not a business.
Okay, how long have we been with them?
Since 2006.
Okay, and where are they located at?
MESAC their headquarters is in Sacramento, but the membership, so like the example, there's 3 categories of membership. There's North California and Southern California. The Southern California membership doesn't have a main office. Meetings are held within the region, going as far south as San Diego and as far north as Santa Barbara.
Okay.
Typically, though, I can speak on behalf of the organization. I'm actually a chapter member, the vice president of the organization.
So you're the vice president?
of the southern chapter, not of the business.
Okay, thank you.
So I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the warrant number 22556 to Hazen and Sawyer, and also 22560 to MESAC.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Director Chuckwan?
I'm going to have to vote no on 22,560.
And then you're okay with the other one?
Yes.
Director Halbman?
Yes.
Director Urigi?
Yes.
Director Hawkins?
Yes.
Director Schooley?
Yes.
Director Vasquez?
Yes?
Director Camacho Rodriguez?
Yes.
President Apodaca?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Mr. Chair, just note that you have the remainder of items 6A and 6B that have to be addressed as well.
Yes, I was gonna go into
Yeah. And then also,
closed session.
yeah, and then also 22562, which is the warrant run for Nossaman that was not voted on.
That's correct. So, Mr. Chair, I recommend, if it's the board's pleasure, that you entertain a motion to approve the remainder of 6A and all of 6B, because both those items were pulled from the consent calendar approval earlier.
Yeah, I was going to get to some questions I have about 6B once we were done with 6A.
Okay, so I guess I'd recommend an approval of the remainder of 6A at this point.
So moved.
Second?
Director Chuckwan?
Can you please repeat?
This was to approve the remainder of 6A, which would be the Nossaman demand number 22562.
Oh, no.
Director Halbman?
Yes.
Director Urigi?
Yes.
Director Hawkins?
No.
Director Schooley?
Yes.
Director Vasquez?
No?
Director Camacho Rodriguez?
No.
President Apodaca?
Yes.
Motion does not pass.
Thank you, Jesus.
So, by not passing, I just want to be clear that that motion was to approve the remainder of 6A except for items 22556 and 22560. Is that correct, Ms. Polito?
No, the motion was just to approve the remainder of 6A, which was 22562. The other two demands were already approved.
Okay, but I'm saying the motion was to approve with the exclusion
Oh,
of
yes.
22556.
Correct. I apologize.
22560.
Yes.
And so that motion is not passed, so that means the remainder of all those bills will not be paid. There's no board approval for those payments, or no board ratification for those payments, so.
Just for
I'd recommend-
clarification, we were told that they were already paid and we were just doing a ceremonial vote. Is that correct?
It is a ratification of the administrative action taken by your staff, but I'd recommend, if there is displeasure with the Nossaman bill, that if the board can entertain a motion to exclude that and then consider the rest of the consent calendar, the rest of 6A, so that there will be
Yes.
ratification as to
We
those
already have.
expenditures.
If I may clarify, so the reason these three demands came back before the board is because last month the board approved 6A with the exception of those three demands. So this action was just to receive and file those three demands. The
Okay.
rest of it has been approved.
Okay, then we should move to 6B.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for the clarification.
Not a problem.
Okay, due to other commitments by some people, including yourself, we want to go into closed session now.
You want to take care of 6B, so
You want to do 6B first?
Well,
do we want to do 6B?
It's the chair's pleasure.
Go ahead.
I'd recommend dealing with 6B because it's in front of everybody now.
go ahead.
Move approval of item 6B.
I actually have some questions about, I pulled it because I have questions about some of the bills on the warrant run. So, let me see, 22,594 Infomark, the recycled water operations and maintenance contract for $58,230 for the month of August. Was there any extra work that was done on the recycled water
Jackie.
pipeline?
Jackie, I'm sorry, would you mind stepping forward to the
Not a
microphone?
problem.
The $58,000 is going to be the normal monthly cost that's for operations and maintenance. So if you want to include any sort of leaks and repairs that happen during that month, then technically, yes, there's extra work that's involved there Okay. for the recycled water system. But it's general tasks that happen under the $58,000 on a monthly basis.
Okay, so typically, the way that Infomark operates, the contract operates, is that if any issues arise with the operations part of the recycled water pipeline, they come in and repair it, and then they bill Central Basin? Is that how it works?
Well, it works with the staffing hours and that aspect, but if it's, say, a capital repair, the Infomark contract is broken up into 3 areas. The first is just the general operations and maintenance, which is the $50,000 that you're referencing. The second item is repair and replace, and so that's any capital improvements that fall outside of that area, which would be approved under the $100,000 that we approve on a yearly basis during the budgeting process. And then the third component is customer development, which is things related to connecting new recycled water customers.
Okay.
So if there were extra hours that took up some of their time for repairs and replace, yes, it would fall under that category. However, the additional expenses through the subcontractor for those repairs would fall under a different invoice.
Okay.
I hope that makes sense.
Excellent, yes, thank you. And then the other one is the Nossaman bill. Warrant run 22-621. Is September, is this the last, this would be the last bill for them, or how?
The best way to explain it is that would be the last bill for their regular monthly duties.
What does that mean?
As they were the district's legal counsel, general counsel, so that ended in the month of September.
Right, you said for their regular duties, so that means we're going to get other bills?
Yes, you'll get a bill for the work they did on the Huntington Park case, which you'll hear about in closed session, and any other work they've done in closing the transfer of the files over to Olivares, Madrid, Leon. We expect their last bill probably being next month.
Have all the cases been transferred to the new attorneys?
Yes.
Yes.
As of when?
A week before last, or beginning of last week, we got all the files, the Huntington Park
Okay.
files.
Is there a reason the transfer of all the legal files was, we were experiencing resistance from Nossaman?
There was no resistance from us. They've been extremely helpful. It was our decision to transfer them in the best interest of the district, which is what the board approved and we discussed last month. And the 2 cases...
It was whose decision?
That was my decision. We're left in the best interest of the district for me to transfer the cases. The Huntington Park case was 85% complete, and the water quality protection plan transfer was about 95% complete.
Yeah, because I've never seen a report about either of those cases from them. They've never provided any written reports about the status of those cases, which was in large part a major concern for me because we were just left out. So now that O'Neill is handling the matter, I feel more confident that Central Basin is being properly represented in those matters and that we're going to be fully kept apprised of the status of the litigation. So that being said, I'll go ahead and move the warrant run 6B with the exception of the bill to Nossaman, which is demand 22-621.
I got a quick question for legal. Just on item 22597 to Liberty Utilities, am I allowed to vote on that as a consent calendar item? Or should I?
Frankly, I don't know enough about your relationship with Liberty and ownership interests, et cetera, so I'd recommend it in an abundance of caution that you excuse yourself from the dais and not vote on that matter.
And then a similar situation on 22589 for Director Rodriguez. Are you Cerritos? Affiliated with Cerritos?
I am.
Okay.
So which one are you referencing to?
22589, it's a refund from Met, an amount of $10,210. What was that for?
22589?
Yeah, 22589. Check number, City of Cerritos, refund Met Services to Central Basin 46.
I don't represent the city of Cerritos, so I represent the college. So I sit as a trustee for Cerritos College Board, and so that's not affiliated with the city, so I don't have any city matters.
Yeah, the issue underlying all this is whether or not it's going to result in a material financial, or foreseeable it's going to result in a material financial benefit to the public official. And there is, if you're going to be treated as the public is generally, then you're not going to have that issue. And I agree with Director Rodriguez. I don't, as I look at what I understand from this metropolitan services, that would not have any individual effect. You, as an employee of a company that's being paid, I don't know enough about. There are certain regulations that govern, that define what constitutes a material interest, and I don't know enough about that, so I'd recommend at this point you excuse yourself and because of the potential conflict.
Okay,
And,
so with that said, I'll recuse myself for this item 6B.
Yeah, so just for...
Can I just make a quick comment? So just for the record, when any of us recuse ourselves, it's for the possibility of having a conflict. And so I would appreciate if maybe all of us here at some point on record make that clear to our constituents of why we have to leave the dais. So just as it was brought up that I am a Board of Trustees at Cerritos College. Cerritos College is not part of the city of Cerritos. It's in the city of Cerritos, but they don't cross in terms of business. Okay? Just so we're clear.
Right. And on the other hand, Mr. Heldman is an employee of Liberty Utilities, and he also owns shares in the company. So clearly there's a material interest because he gets paid both as a shareholder and as an employee of the company, which is a clear conflict. So thank you for
It's not clear, that's why I'm being cautious. I don't know enough about that company nor the level of his interest, but to be cautious, I'd recommend for his benefit and the district's benefit that he's doing as he's doing now, is removing himself from the dais for this vote.
Okay, so if it's not clear and according to Mr. Heldman, it's not material, I think it's real important for us to understand that. Mr. Heldman will be here for another 2 years, and there will be other items that come before the board that deal with Central Basin giving funding or paying money out to Liberty Utilities. So I will ask that our firm conduct a 7-part analysis, which is what the process is, on whether or not there is a conflict of interest for Mr. Heldman to engage in voting on matters that come before us that have to do with Liberty Utilities. Thank you.
Directors, we currently have a motion on the floor by Director Vasquez to approve item 6B with the exception of demand number 22621. We do not have a second.
I'll second that.
Director Chacon?
Yes.
Director Heldman? Director Rigi?
Yes.
Director Hawkins?
Yes.
Director Oscui?
Yes.
Director Vasquez?
Yes?
Director Camacho Rodriguez?
Yes.
President Apodaca?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Bless you.
We are going to go into closed session, if you please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As identified on the beginning in Section 30 of the agenda, pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9, a few items of pending litigation, City of Signal Hill versus Central Basin, people of the state of California through the City of Huntington Park versus John Escui, Belkey versus Central Basin, and also one item of potential litigation, as well as under Section 54956.8 concerning real property located at 6252 Telegraph Road, Commerce, California.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I would like to be recused from item number 30 out of abundance of caution because of a potential conflict of interest.
Thank you.
So noted.
closed session on several items. I've got reports on many of them. Regarding the Signal Hill versus Central Basin, the board met in closed session on this item. On the motion of Director Arrighi, seconded by Director Camacho Rodriguez, the board unanimously approved moving forward with the plaintiffs in a facilitated process to attempt to resolve issues through settlement related to this litigation. On item identified as Bilkey versus Central Basin, on a motion of Director Arrighi, seconded by Director Hellman, to retain the law firm of Oliveras, Madrigal, Lemieux, and O'Neill to defend Central Basin in this case. I believe that motion was passed unanimously. Is that correct? My notes don't say, but...
Correct.
In addition, there was a request from General Manager Hunt, who's named as a defendant in the case, for a defense. And on a motion of Director Hellman, seconded by Director Arrighi, that was also approved on a vote of 7-1, with Director Chacon voting no. On the item identified as the Huntington Park matter, the board received a report from District Council. No reportable action took place. On the item identified as potential litigation, the board considered a request from Director Vasquez to pay defense costs related to a potential FPPC investigation. And on a motion made by Director Camacho Rodriguez and seconded by Director Chacon, the board voted 7-0 to approve that defense with certain other conditions. Finally, the board met in closed session to discuss the item identified as real property negotiation for the property located at this property that we're sitting in, and received a report from the agency negotiators, and no reportable action took place on that item either. Mr. President, that concludes the report.
Are we going on with the regular agenda or? Yeah, actually, over 10. Yeah, but you can change that.
All right, good morning, directors. This action item is being brought to you today for consideration. The Association of California Water Agencies is having their nomination of the president and vice president for the 2020-2021 term. And this will take place at the conference, at the Association of California Water Agencies conference that they'll have in San Diego next month in December. So in this written memo is information about how the Aqua nominating committee announced a slate of their recommendation to recommend Stephen Lamar as the president, and then also recommending Sarah Palmer as the vice president. More information here about a little bit of their background, their biography. And we discussed this information during the Water Resources Committee, and the committee had approved to bring forward this recommended item for your consideration today. So the recommended motion is that the board vote for president and vice president for Aqua and designate a board member or staff member as a voting delegate during the general session membership meeting at the 2019 Fall Conference on December 4th, 2019.
I'd like to move staff's recommendation.
I'll second that.
And directors, just for clarification, this is for Stephen Lamar and Sarah Palmer, correct?
Yes.
The committee's okay, thank you. Director Chacon?
Yes.
Director Heldman?
Yes.
Director Arrighi?
Yes.
Director Hawkins?
Yes.
Director Oscui?
Yes.
Director Vasquez?
Yes.
Director Camacho Rodriguez?
Yes.
President Apodaca?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Now, will the chairman choose a staff member on that one? Oh, you guys will figure it out.
We have a proxy form that, yeah, we're
Okay.
ready, we'll do that.
All right, thanks.
Okay. As the board will recall, last month we brought forward the salary schedules. Can keep it up there. Again, the reason we brought them forward was have not been updated in a number of years. Let me get to just a reminder of what we're doing on this. It has no fiscal impact on the budget. The budget and salary merit pools have already been approved. The FTE count and the labor budget has been approved. The district policy is to conduct a compensation and benefits survey every 3 years. Approval salary complies with CalPERS regulations. And the revisions to the salary schedule simply determines the range in which an employee can be employed. In the general spread, the revisions are average 5 to 6%. Ranges have not been updated since 2009, and inflation has increased by 22%. Now, in actuality, we took this up last month, and the board requested we defer this till next spring when we go through the budget process. However, there's one position that we requested to bring back, and so they said bring it back through the engineering, through the appropriate committee. We brought it to the committee. It's the associate engineer position. It is significantly 25% below market right now. We're actively recruiting. This is to fill a position that an employee left. We're having trouble recruiting because our range is too low by a factor of 25%. So we took it to the engineering committee and also the admin and finance. Their request was the item be brought to the Purveyor workshop. So we did that last week. At the Purveyor workshop, we presented this range. We had a discussion with the folks present. The comments they got, and I believe there were 3 directors present. The comments we got was, "Gay, can I use an assistant engineer instead of an associate?" The answer is, I'd prefer not. We need the experience that an associate brings. It's 3 or 4 more years experience. Cover level range is actually an assistant engineer range. Can we contract it out? Again, the answer is temporarily, but in long term, we need a permanent employee that we can train to operate what is actually a complex system. While our system is small because it has no storage in it, it's a complex system to operate. So one comment was, we'll definitely not get anybody in at the lower level, and if we need experience, we're way too low with the other comments. So those are the 4 comments that I recall I have in my notes. Based on that, I would like the board to approve just this one, the revised rate schedule for the associate engineer position as shown. Any comments?
I have several questions. Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm reading the agenda item, and it says here that we're approving the district salary schedule pursuant to CalPERS Regulations, Section 570. So Section 570 of the CalPERS Regulations basically states that, and I'll read it here, for the purposes of determining the amount of compensation earnable, and then they cite the government code, pay rate shall be limited to the amount listed on a pay schedule that meets all of the following requirements. It has been duly approved and adopted by the employer's governing board in accordance with the requirements, which is why it's before us. Identifies the position title for every employee position, shows the pay rate for each identified position that may be stated as a single amount or as multiple amounts within a range, indicates that the time base, including but not limited to whether the time base is hourly, daily, bi-weekly, monthly, bi-monthly, or annually, etc. It goes down and lists the requirements by CalPERS for the salary ranges to be made public. This is an annual requirement?
No, we do this every 3 years to keep current with the ranges.
Okay. No.
That's in our policy.
No. The difference is we're talking about 2 different things. One is the CalPERS requirement to make the salaries public, and then the other thing is, the other issue here is
our salaries
the
are public.
salary.
Yeah.
Where on the website are they? Because I didn't see that.
I'll look it up. Okay, I don't know.
Yeah, would you, if you can bring it up and show it to me, where on the website the salary ranges? Because according to CalPERS, we're required to, is it posted on our website and on Transparent California? Or
I
how
know,
does it work?
I know it's required on Transparent California. I'm
Okay.
not sure if it's required on the website, but we definitely have it we're on Transparent California.
Excuse me?
We're on Transparent California.
Yeah, I know previous years are, I just didn't find this year's, the most recent. Do you know if the recent,
I haven't
the
seen
most
this year's,
recent?
yeah.
Yeah, the most recent that I saw on Transparent California is 2016. So, so I was just wondering where that is, because legally we have to have these posted either on Transparent California or on our website. So I was just wondering. Okay.
Okay.
So there you go. Okay, so would you click on that so that I can see what's there? Thank you. So the last,
That's for 20.
so April, yeah, so April, it says here, as a part of the staff report, that the last salary schedule was approved by the board on April 27, 2019. Is that accurate?
We approve that as part of our board
Budget,
package,
right?
yeah.
Right. So my understanding is that we approve these salary schedules every year during the budget cycle, correct?
Yeah. We approve what's in the, yes, I'm sorry, we approve them every year.
So we approve them every year, okay.
But we don't update them, we don't do the survey to
Right.
market every year. We do that every
understand.
3 years per the admin code.
I understand. Yeah, I just want to make sure that we get all of the accurate information. So we approved the salary scale in April of 27th of 2019, and during that time, the salaries that are listed here, would you mind putting that up, Albert? The salary scale that is currently in effect is what page is that? Okay, so is it Exhibit B? That's the current salary scale?
I'm sorry, I don't have in front of me what you're talking about.
Yeah, I just want to understand what we're voting on here.
All we're voting on here today is the associate engineer, not the overall salary schedule. We're taking that back to the board in the spring for the board direction last time. It's the
Okay.
associate engineer position only.
Okay, okay. And so you're asking us to do two things. One is you're asking us to amend the salary scale so that it can comply with the CalPERS 570 requirement, right?
All I'm asking you to do is increase the salary scale so I can hire somebody at the appropriate skill level.
Okay, so because the agenda says that approval of district salary schedule pursuant to CalPERS regulations, and I just want to make sure that I understand this correctly, because this item implies that we're not in compliance with CalPERS regulation 570.
No, Director, it just says we want to maintain our compliance with it. Doesn't mean we're out of compliance.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, every time you adjust the salary schedule, you have to do it in an open session and by the vote of the governing body, and that's what we're doing right now. So
Right.
that's a
Just trying to increase this one salary schedule.
Right, I understand. But you see how when the words are not clear, there's confusion? Because according to this item, it says approval of the district salary schedule pursuant to CalPERS regulations. So what I'm left to assume is that we're not in compliance with CalPERS Rule 570. But what you're asking us to do is you're asking us to change the salary scale for this engineering position. What's the highest rate for this engineering position
I believe
currently?
right now it's like 101,000.
Would you highlight that, Albert? What number is it?
The maximum is
Number 9. So it says senior accountant, assistant engineer, contract procurement analyst. So we're going to change, so you're suggesting that your original proposal was that we change the salary scale for all of these positions? Was that your original?
No. Our original thing, yes, was for all of them. The board said, no, bring them all back in the spring. I request we take this one position for associate engineer and approve it at this time.
Okay, so what's the salary range right now for this engineering position?
It's the one highlighted on the screen, Director Al?
Page 109.
That's the suggested change. The one on our website is current.
Okay, yeah, I just want to see the numbers. So it's basically, right now, it's, what's the salary range for the engineering job?
I'm sorry, Director, it's right on the paper in front.
What page is that?
So on our website, the range starts at a minimum of $54,083.20. The midpoint is $67,604, and our maximum is $81,100.
Oh, I see.
Yes.
Okay. And that's the salary range for all of the positions listed in 9?
That's for an
That's right in-
assistant, right?
That's for assistant engineer.
This is for an assistant, not
And you're
associate.
upgrading it to an associate engineer, if I'm not mistaken, correct, Kevin?
Yes.
You're requesting to upgrade from an assistant engineer to associate engineer, which has its
It's
entirely...
listed as associate right now.
Do we have, so it's listed as associate. Do we have
Yeah.
the job description for both of these positions?
Yes, ma'am, they're
Yeah.
all in the employee manual on both of them,
Yeah.
as it is for all of the positions in the district.
Right, but you're asking that we change the salary scale for these specific positions, so
For
the
this
salary...
specific position at
Right,
this time.
so the salary scale is going to change, it's changing because the job description is different, correct?
No, the reason it's changing is because the market is 25% above us.
Right.
For example, we're competing with West Basin right now. Their
No, I
salary
understand
schedule,
that.
If you look at it, for the same position, will be 25% higher.
Okay, so is the position going to be an assistant engineer position, or is it going to be an associate engineer?
Hopefully an associate engineer.
Okay, so that's the information, Kevin, that we need to get from you. It needs to be very clear. If you're going to change the job, if you're going to change the job title from assistant engineer to associate engineer, that needs to be brought before us along with the entire job description. So I think that's very important for us to get that information if you're going to ask us to change the salary ranges. So I will request that we defer action on this item. It doesn't prevent you from hiring anyone to fill that position. And I would ask that we defer action on this item until we revisit our budget for the next fiscal year.
Mr. Chairman, I have some questions.
I'll second that motion.
I had some questions, I'm sorry, before your motion. General Manager Hunt, what do you have in your budget right now, the position, the authorized position per the approved budget? Is it an assistant
I
position?
believe it's an associate.
So
I
is it
believe
an
it's rounding
associate
up
or is it an
more.
assistant?
It's an associate,
So if it's an associate, it's a budgeted position,
Yes.
correct? It's just vacant.
right.
Okay. The job description, because it's a budgeted position, you have to have a job description for that.
Yes, we do, and it's not changing.
Right, it's not changing. The only thing that you're changing, because you're not competing in the marketplace to bring a qualified person to do the job, you're adjusting that range. And you did the study, and the study was presented to us. It showed us how much below the marketplace we are, about 25% roughly, if I remember correctly. That's all we're trying to do, right?
Yes.
So it's a budgeted position. The board had already approved this position as part of the budget, overall budget, in June or July. The job description obviously is in place. You're not changing that job description. All you're trying to do is to adjust the maximum level of pay in order to be able to recruit someone who's qualified to do the job that you need to do. Is that?
That's exactly correct. I believe the citizens of Central Basin deserve qualified people who make the appropriate amount of money. We've got to be able to compete in the marketplace. We can't compete when our salaries are significantly below it. At this time, it's the only vacancy we're trying to fill.
And, yeah, I'm sorry to jump in, but this is also in consideration of the fact that your senior member of the engineering team is going to be leaving soon on a maternity leave, so it behooves us to bring someone else in quickly as possible to provide for a seamless transition, so that
That's totally
the
correct.
operation is not going to get hurt.
Totally correct. We're going to hire somebody in the next couple of weeks. We have to. We don't have time. We've been told by the recruiters that we're underpaid on this. It's what the salary survey showed. We're simply trying to increase the range in which the person is hired in.
Yeah, Kevin, when we were in the purveyor meeting, the purveyors asked a number of questions with respect to this position. During that meeting, you indicated that we had received 50 applicants for that,
Yes, we
to
did.
fill that job. And so I would like to get straight information from you when you bring these items before the board. First, you said it was going to be changed to an associate position. Now it's not going to change. It's going to stay as
It's an associate position.
it's an associate. Then you said it was going to change to another position. That was what you said, Kevin.
Okay.
So what I ask of you, Kevin, is when you bring items before us, please bring all of the information before us. Please bring the job description for the position that you're asking us to give the increase for. Bring us the backup information that justifies your argument that this board should increase the salary because it's not competitive. And I would like to see apples to apples comparisons, Mr. Hunt. We have a smaller service area and we have less projects we don't have as many projects on the table as some of the agencies that you're comparing these salaries with. So let's come to the table with all of the information. Also, why is it that we're only going to visit a salary range increase for this position? Why
Because
not?
it's the only vacancy I have.
Why
right now.
not look at all of the positions so that we're fair with all of the employees who have
We had that debate last month, Director.
Bring it back, Kevin, during the budget cycles, when the budget is being decided, and so we can properly make the allocations for these positions during the budget cycle. We've already gone through this, and this salary scale was approved in April of this year. So this salary has already been approved, and in fact, this is not the only change you were suggesting. You were suggesting other changes which have an impact on our budget. And as you already know, our budget we have issues with respect to the amount of revenue that we're receiving, and we need to make sure that our budget is balanced. So
This
that
has no impact
said,
on the budget. It's a range.
I understand that.
But you just said it had impact on the budget. Sorry.
It does
wanna
have an
keep it
impact on the budget. You know why? Because you're asking us to change the salary scale so that you can offer the person that you want to hire a higher salary
If
range.
I had somebody I want to hire, I'd hire them
Okay.
right now. I don't have anybody yet.
Or whoever you decide to offer the job to. This is going to have an impact on the budget because you're going to offer them a salary that is above the highest range, correct?
No.
That we have now.
No.
Okay, so if you're not going to offer the person that is going to come in to take the job, if you're not going to offer them more than the highest range here, why not wait until the new budget discussions when all of
Because
these things can be discussed?
I could wait, but the person coming in is going to make a smart business decision, going to say, well, wait a minute, you're offering me $85,000 and I'm capped at $100,000, but if I go over to any other district, my cap will be $110,000 or $115,000 or $120,000. I have more room to go with more certainty. It's a matter of career management for them.
Well, that's a personal choice that person will have to make.
That's right, and that means
And
we
you
would get a
can-
lesser candidate.
That's your opinion. We obviously have many people that are interested in applying for this position, and we have many people to choose from, and I hope that you can
We only
make the
had 3 civil
decision
engineers, Director, out of 50 candidates.
within the budget that you have been allocated.
3, I think it was.
Out of 50.
Out of 50. My mechanical, food processing, everything under the sun, but
Right.
civil
I mean,
engineering.
Just because
It's a
of the
very
fact
tight
that you have
market.
50 applicants,
Yeah.
that doesn't mean they were qualified applicants.
Exactly.
And typically, Kevin, when you hire people, you don't hire the last step of the salary, correct?
Right.
That's something for an employee or a potential employee to consider when they're coming into an organization to find out if there is room for growth as far as their income is concerned.
Yeah, and, on the same note, Kevin, there are other positions that have been, vacated, recently. Is the Human Resources Director. Central Basin has operated without a Human Resources Director in the past. We have operated on a consultant basis. We already have an individual in that department that can take on those additional duties and use the excess funds from that position to possibly move that money over for this position, the engineering position that's available. I think there are other things that can be done with what we have now in order to achieve what we want to achieve here.
That position has been filled, and we have a new director who's starting of Human Resources starting next Monday.
We have 23 employees. In my opinion, there's no reason to have a human resources director. We have an individual that's already in that office that is more than capable of doing that job.
No, we don't, Director. We have someone who could rise to that occasion with sufficient training and mentoring, and we hope to get him there someday, but we don't have him right now, or he'd be there.
So I would like to withdraw my motion and make a motion to institute a hiring freeze until the board gets an opportunity to review all of the positions, including the salary ranges and the job descriptions, to make a decision on this matter.
Mr. President's substitute motion?
That exceeds the scope of this agenda item.
Right.
Okay.
Substitute motion, Mr. President?
Yes.
And that is to move ahead with the recommended motion by the staff. So authorize the associate engineer increasing the top of the range of the fourth salary.
I second it. Roll call.
Director Chacon?
No.
Director Heldman?
Yes.
Director Urigi?
Yes.
Director Hawkins?
No.
Director Oscui?
Yes.
Director Vasquez?
No?
Director Camacho Rodriguez?
No.
President Apodaca?
Yes.
Motion does not pass.
Item 12, amendment to number 1 to contract review 2019 to 18 for the Rio Hondo Pump Station.
Yes, good morning, directors. We're bringing Amendment 1 to Hazen & Sawyer's contract before you today. We have invited Hazen & Sawyer to come here to give a presentation for you. It's going to be on Phase 1, the preliminary design report, which is attached to this memo item for you today. We would hope to move on to Phase 2, which would be design. So from Hazen & Sawyer, we have Ian McKenzie and Don Gindert with us today. After their presentation, we have Andrew Hamilton, which will approach the podium and give some fiscal impacts update for this particular item, and then I will be coming back. So I will hand it over to Hazen & Sawyer for you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, President Apodaca and the rest of the board members of Central Basin. Don Gindert with Hazen & Sawyer. I was the project director.
I'm sorry, could you speak to the microphone?
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Thank you.
So I'm Don Gindert with Hazen & Sawyer. I was the project director on the Rio Hondo Pump Station Condition Assessment and Preliminary Design Report. With me today is Ian McKenzie, who is the project director for that same project. Can you hear me now, okay? Sorry.
I think we should be okay.
Got it? Okay. Sorry about that. I'm already breaking things here. Okay.
The pump station is a different matter.
Thank you. Oh, wrong direction. There we go. Okay. Can't read that up there, can you? Apologize. Can't read it. Oh, okay, I can over here, I'm sorry. So the goals of the upgrade of the Rio Hondo pump station, we had several goals. One was, and I think the primary goal was to ensure the reliability of the pump station. The other one was to create best value for you in the upgrades, to incorporate constructability in our design process for it. And finally, to provide the appropriate level of proactive supervision during the construction of the project. So So as some of you may remember who were here in 2016, we did an initial condition assessment of the Rio Hondo pump station. This project was a follow-on from that project, but also expanded the scope. The project in 2016 only incorporated the pump station itself. The expansion of the scope included the surge tank and the chemical dosing system. So the first task was an inventory had already been developed for the pump station from the 2016 report. So the next step was to do the condition assessment. A couple of the board members were out there the day that we had our staff out there. We had both we had civil engineers, structural engineers, electrical and mechanical engineers. And as some of you saw, we had electronic devices with forms on them. Depending on the discipline, it had a series of questions that everybody was answering as they did a visual assessment of each piece of equipment at the pump station. And they were scoring it on a 1 to 5 basis. And as you can see right here, with 1 being new and then 5 being something that was failing and in need of replacement, and then the range in between. So the benefit of this is that we were getting consistent scoring across from all the different staff that were out there. So the results from that condition assessment are shown here in this graph. As you can see, we had 3 assets that were deemed to be failing and in need of replacement in the short term, and those were scored a 5. We had several assets that were in poor condition, many assets that were in fair condition, and then some that were in good condition. So I want to be clear that this was basically just the condition score. And this was, while it's important, this was not just the only determining factor in what then became pulled into the preliminary design report. What we do with that information is that we take that score and then we look at what's the estimated useful life of an asset. And we start with industry standards, so let's just take from the 2016, I know when we did that originally, those pumps have an industry standard useful life of 20 years. But in 2016, when we went out and looked at them, the pumps were still in fair condition, so we actually customized the useful life, the estimated useful life, to be 25 years, because we saw that based on the way you were operating them, the way you were maintaining them, you were actually getting longer life out of those pumps than the industry standard. And so we developed a table for every asset class that majority stated industry standard, but a few of them were customized either to have a longer estimated life, or we may have customized it to a shorter estimated life, again, based on how your assets were performing. Okay? So we take that condition score, we look at what the estimated useful life is, and then we come up with what's a remaining useful life for those assets. And that's what you see right here, is what we estimate the remaining useful life. So that can vary, even though you may see a condition score of a 3 and think that that's, okay, it's in fair condition, we should be replacing that in the next 10 years. If it's an asset class that has an estimated useful life of 40 years, and we say it's in fair condition, then we're going to estimate that that probably still has 15 to 20 years of life left, and it would not have been pulled into preliminary design. If it was an asset that we say the estimated useful life is maybe 15 years, then and it was in fair condition, then we would have said, okay, that's probably only maybe got about 7 years of useful life, and then it would have been pulled in, because the preliminary design is based on assets with 10 years or less. So I know there was some confusion in the committee meeting, so I just wanted to take the time to explain that, how that worked. Okay. So with that, this is we then went and we did a risk assessment on each of the assets, because you also want to think about not just how long are these assets expected to still, but how critical they are to the performance of that. And here's a graphical representation of where they fell out relative to risk. Now, in the 2016 study, we had already developed the criteria for risk, and collaborating with staff, we come up with 4 criteria, and those criteria we looked at fatalities, could it cost a fatality or a serious injury or illness? We looked at, another criteria was economic loss, so was the cost to replace it or repair it? How much was that? And then the other thing is, could it potentially cause a loss of revenue to the district? Another one was environmental impact, and then fourth, public perception. So basically what we call the them. So as you can see here in this matrix, what we're showing is up in the upper right-hand corner are the assets that both had high, what we call probability or likelihood of failure, and also had a high consequence of failure. So obviously those are the ones that you want to address in the near term. When you look at the yellow, those are assets that have both high consequence of failure and either medium to low probability of failure, medium. And those are assets that what we say at this point you want to be more proactive in your management. Some of them you would, especially if it's a high consequence of failure, you would want to replace them. But if there's a low consequence of failure, you may just try to manage them a little bit more and not replace them. And then obviously if there's a low probability of failure and a low consequence of failure, you just continue to maintain those assets as you're maintaining them right now. And then finally, here's another way of graphically representing that, and that was over the 10-year period that we were looking at for the preliminary design report. So as you can see, even in the first year, you've got some assets with high consequence of failure, again, that you want to be addressed. So again, collaborating with staff, what we determined is that all the assets with either 5 years or less of remaining useful life would be pulled into the preliminary design report. And then the 6 to 10 year, anything that had, we didn't have any that had high consequence of failure, but we did have a number with a medium consequence of failure. So those were also brought into the preliminary design report. In the year 6 to 10, anything with a low consequence of failure was not. Okay, so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ian McKenzie, who's now going to talk to you about what served as the foundation to develop the preliminary design report.
Thanks, Don. So the improvements that were proposed to the pump station, basically driven, as Don said, by age, consequence of failure. They tend to focus heavily around the electrical equipment. This pump station was constructed in 1993, so their electrical equipment is getting on for 25, 26 years old, and that's a lot of it is reaching the end of its useful life, and that equipment is essential to keep the pump station in operation. If it fails, the pump station can go offline. So we had variable frequency drives, the transformers, the motor control center. We also had a number of instrumentation items, control panels and pressure switches, and the plant flow meter that's used to measure. These are all things that were reaching the end of their life, so they're recommended for replacement. And a small amount of mechanical equipment that needed to be replaced. The hypochlorite dosing pumps, which are on the point of failing. The one recycled water pump that we're replacing is a much smaller than the other recycled water pumps, and it's going to be upgraded so that it can swap out with one of the other ones that gets heavy use and doesn't have a standby. So that will improve the reliability of the pump station. We wanted to divide the work up and do it over time so that it would match the district's available cash flow. We tried to divide those packages so that they would be logical packages to build and they would address the most urgent items quickly. So the first package is to deal with the hypochlorite pumps that are failing and the variable frequency drives which are obsolete and which would shut down the pump station if they failed. The second package is, again, focused a lot on electrical work, motor control center, the motors, the one remaining VFD, and upgrading a transformer that seems close to the end of its life. Package C is some less critical stuff or in better condition. So some of the mechanical repairs, the air conditioning system for the electrical room, ventilation system, flow meters, and valves. There's quite a list of stuff in that package. And then package D, the remaining transformers, which are actually going to be tested. We're going to do some further tests, and if that works out, they may be deferred even further if they're in good condition. Associated resistors, and then change out that one pump that's undersized for a larger pipe. We came up with a cost estimate that, just to be clear, these are all up costs, so they include not only the cost of replacing the equipment, but also the contractor's costs, the engineering costs, and some of the district's costs, the cost the district will incur in supervising the work. So the overall estimate was $5.2 million. That's $4 million for construction, $400,000 for engineering, $600,000 to manage the construction, and approximately $200,000 for permitting and legal. And I think Andrew has run the numbers, and he is going to explain the updated financial implications, so I'm going to turn it over to him.
Thank you, Ian. So I'm here to discuss the financial impact, and there was a related question at the committee, and to address that. So staff has prepared a revised 5-year capital spend, and that has to coincide with the 5-year rate study, the revenue that we would achieve that was in conjunction with the 5-year rate study related to just capital. Although these amounts are both consistent, they're approximately $5 million each currently. Staff is working to fine-tune the timing of those so that the 5-year capital spend matches that 5-year projection of revenue related to capital in the 5-year rate study. So the design needs to be completed to have accurate capital spending figures for those items. And again, this is related to the highest risk, worst condition, which is the highest priority. Staff is working on that as we speak, and we'll bring this financial projection back to the appropriate committee when completed. Any questions? With that, I can...
So you're going to bring what information back to the appropriate committee?
The projection of the 5-year capital spend that is approximately $5 million, which includes this Rio Hondo pump station, and the $5 million that we are collecting in revenue over the next 5 years, about $1 million a year related to capital. So they're approximately the same. We're just fine-tuning the timing of when the inflows and the outflows related to capital, and that's the update we'll bring to the committee.
And the actual numbers for the design process as well. So the design process will refine the numbers for the process.
Okay. And the funding is going to come from the revenue that we generate from the recycled water sales, or where?
All the district's revenue sources.
I mean, can you pinpoint one? Because, I mean, today we can say, well, it's going to come from here, and then tomorrow, well, guess what? That never came in. So now we got to go to the reserves?
So it's the 5-year rate study was a projection, and it had certain assumptions on it that rates would increase 2 to 3% a year. So, and certain volumes.
Talk about the bonds and how we schedule them.
No, just answer my question, because, you know, as we were out there, somebody made a comment, oh, it could come from the sale of the building. I'm a no for that. A completely no.
Yeah, no, the 5-year rate study did not have any revenues or sources of income related to the sale of buildings. So this is all about user fees that the district charges to its customers. Does that answer your question?
Andrew, explain why we schedule the bonds for a lower interest-only payment for 4 years to put money in to pay for this.
Like you said, we refinanced the district's debt. This was the first year that we had significantly reduced, actually last year. So we're in year 2 now of a situation where we've refinanced the debt to have lower debt service temporarily, so that the rates that we charge would match then the debt service that we're going to have in year 5. That's in fiscal 23.
Mr. President?
Yes.
Question for staff. How many connections does the Rio Hondo pump station support?
That's an interesting question. So there's two different sources, as you are all aware. So it really depends on customer demand. So the Rio Hondo pump station serves all of the customers in pressure zone 1, which is north of the pressure reducing valve, but it also serves the southern areas in pressure zones 2 and 3 as well. So once it passes over the PRV, it really depends on the lower areas for pressure zone 2 and 3, what demands that they have. So that will vary over time. But for the exact number of customer connections, because it's a blend, it would be hard to say to the south, but I could get you the number for the north. We have that somewhere documented.
How many how many customers or connections would be out of service if something were to happen to the Rio Hondo pump station that took an enormous amount of time to put back together again?
If I put it this way, the Rio Hondo pump station serves currently 80% of our demand. 80%
of the district's
overall
recycled water demand.
Overall, yes, over the whole system.
How many days, may I ask the engineer, how many days would it take to replace an integral part of the station in order to get it back up and running? Back of the envelope, ballpark, engineer's estimate. Critical component blows out. Anywhere from
a month. You could lose it for more than a month.
More than a month. What is the alternative water for the recycled water system in the event that the Rio Hondo pump station goes out?
There is no alternative.
There is no alternative. So those customers that are paying Central Basin for recycled water would have to tell their customers that are getting recycled water, you're SOL, you have no water, your lawn dies, or your carpet isn't dyed, or whatever the source of water that's being used is not there.
That is correct. And then the Los Coyotes plant could serve some of those potential needs, but some, yes. Many customers would be out of service, and then there could be, pressure loss for those customers that are used to a certain amount of pressure. It would affect them as well.
So is it safe to say that the Rio Hondo pump station is an integral part of Central Basin's recycled water system that provides income to the district?
Yes, I 100% agree with that statement.
Is it not one of the benefits to the purveyors to have this recycled water system up and running and purveying recycled water every day at demand?
Yes, I would agree with that.
Thank you.
Jack?
Go ahead.
Go on.
I'll hold my questions.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, with that descriptive overview, thank you, Director Arrighi. I move to recommend approval of the motion as articulated by staff.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I have questions. I would like to get my questions in with respect to this project. This is a $5 million commitment that I believe my constituents have questions about the expenditure of $5 million, and I would like to ask my questions, and I believe other directors have questions as well.
Well, I'm sorry, what is the recommended motion? Is it the amendment to the contract?
Correct.
How much is it?
The design.
How much is the value of this that you're considering today?
The amendment that we're asking for the design, the proposal came in at $387,885.
Right.
We would include a 10% contingency upon that of $38,789 for a total not to exceed amount. This is for design only, $426,674.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and proceed with my questions. Now, with respect to, let me see, the report that was provided by Ms. Coons, it says here that our staff has obtained and reviewed additional background information from district staff and also Inframark. And Inframark is the company that manages and operates the pump station at this moment. Do we have a copy of that report that they provided?
Let me clarify that. It wasn't a report that they necessarily provided. When Hazen and Sawyer was putting together their conditions assessment, what we did provide them for their review is operational reports. So say if there was any repairs or replacements in the past. So if a pump, there was damage to it or it failed for whatever reason and we had that repaired, in some cases that would add more useful life to the pump if we rebuilt a certain area, if we rewound the motor or something along those lines. But we just provided maintenance and operations reports from the past, and they helped us gather those.
Okay. Would you mind forwarding a copy of that report to the Board of Directors? I agree with Director Arrighi that we have an obligation to maintain the pumping, station and all of our infrastructure. In fact, I wish that all of our purveyors understood the need for us to do that. However, I'm interested in learning more about the specific needs at this particular pump station prior to moving forward with this. I did do a little bit of additional research with respect to the contract proposal that was made initially when Hazen and Sawyer was approved for the design phase of this project. And I found that the board actually approved the it was an item that was brought before our board on February the 25th, 2019. And it was the request for proposals for professional services for upgrading and rehabbing the pump station. And during that time, I watched the video of the meeting. There was a discussion about an assessment, doing an assessment only of the needs of the pump station. And so we received at the time a number of proposals firms that were interested in doing the initial assessment. Those firms were West Yost and Associates, Tetra Tech, Kleinfelder, Hazen and Sawyer, AKM, and the choices were reduced to three, which was West Yost, who offered to do the initial assessment for $74,000 some odd and change. Tetra Tech, who offered to do it at $166,849, and then Hazen and Sawyer, who offered to do it at $91,000, which I understand is what has been paid out to Hazen and Sawyer, right?
No. To date, for the conditions assessment and the preliminary design report preparation, it's at the $75,000, I can give you the rate, $75,205 up through September. We will be getting another invoice for October associated with those tasks, but it will be under the $95,520 that was awarded.
Okay, so my understanding is that when we put out the bid for this particular issue, it was for that assessment only. And so now it looks like through this contract amendment, we're going to move forward with other work. And so my concern here is that we're violating our own admin code with respect to the bidding process. Now, my understanding is that in order for us to continue issuing a contract for different work, we're required to put the contract out to bid. Is there a reason why this is not happening?
If this may help, when we originally put the actual scope of work out to bid, we included the conditions assessment, the preliminary design report, and the design. Through that process, we became aware, and this was through feedback from the consultants who would be putting in proposals, that it's quite difficult to put together a cost proposal for a design if you haven't finished the conditions assessment and preliminary preliminary design report first, because they wouldn't be aware of what design levels were needed at that time until the conditions assessment was completed. So that's why we chose to only award for the conditions assessment and the preliminary design report as the first chunk of what we've been calling phase 1, then move to design, which would be phase 2. So it was originally part of the scope of work, and we weren't changing that. I believe we've reported it to the committee and the board that it's been our plan to come back to the board. I think it was in the recommended motion originally for phase 1 that we would come back once we had a better idea of what those design costs would be, and here we are today.
Okay. So would it not benefit us to now put this out to bid so that we can see what other firms could give us for the amount of money that we're being asked to approve for this firm?
Well, at this time, Hazen and Sawyer, they're the most familiar with the process, and they know the conditions of all the equipment, and their team has been building up to this point since day one.
I might remind the director that this is a professional services contract. You select for quality, not for price. So even if we put it out for proposals, we wouldn't necessarily select the low bidder. If it was a qualified firm. At the time this was put out for proposals, we were happy we got the people we did. They're all very good. And Hazen and Sawyer won it based on their qualifications and their approach. There are also 2 other excellent proposals. This is normally the way it's done when you have a preliminary design. You have to do that. Otherwise, people put too much of a safety factor and say, well, my design cost is going to be $600,000, et cetera. So this way ends up saving the district money in the long run. And time, because we go out to a procurement right now, it's another 3 or 4 months on a system that needs to be repaired.
Well, I mean, it's not, again, this is a long-term project. Obviously, our staff has projected that this project be done over the course of 5 years. We currently have someone, Inframark, who is managing the day-to-day operations and maintaining the Rio Hondo pump station. I don't see a need for us to rush into this. My conversation with the gentleman from Inframark the day that we went out for the site visit was that they have done some repairs themselves as needed, as they go out daily to monitor the day-to-day operations of the system. According to them, it runs fine. So, I'm certainly, aware of the fact that we need to look at this, but I believe that we have an obligation to carefully put this project out for competitive bidding. Now that we know what the needs are of the pump station, and we also need to make sure that financially we are going to be able to pay for this, through the water sales that we have. And because of the continued decrease in our water sales, I think we need to see that financial projection from our finance department before moving forward.
Is that a motion, Director?
I'll go ahead.
Let me make one thing, Director, before you proceed with the motion. If you look at the O&M costs for the repair of the system over the last several years, you'll see them escalating. I believe normally we budget $100,000 for that. How much this year is the repair replacement of the system?
So far, some are actual costs, some are coming in at quotes, but it's going to be around $230,000 to $250,000. Maybe I would have to check the numbers, but an estimate would be well over the $100,000 alone just for this pump station.
I would disagree. We have a warning here that with the escalation of costs, that we have a potential problem on our hands. And I believe that we've done this in the totally appropriate procurement process for these type of projects. And it would really be best if we moved along.
What about Inframark? Are they able to do the job? They're already there. If anyone is intimately familiar with the needs of this pump station, it's going to be Inframark because they're there every day.
Director, they are part of this process. They will be working with us hand in hand, but they're operators and not professional designers or contractors, and they subcontract out much of the repair work as well.
Yeah, would it be, have we shown them our assessment, and have you?
Yes, and they've been actually part of it. We've had a few site visits at the pump station where some of our directors have been present, and they helped us put together together the presentation and answer questions
Yeah.
while out in the field.
Do they have anyone that they can recommend that could possibly give us a better price?
It's my understanding that Severn, or not Severn Trent, but now Infomark, they provide operations and maintenance services only, and not professional design work.
Can't leave.
You know what, I've been out there probably once or twice, and, and I know about mechanics, so my thing is, we can replace it with something new, and it's not gonna guarantee that it's not gonna break down tomorrow, because, the part might be defective. So all this about going down and this and that, and trying to, the sky's falling and all that, I'm not buying that. That plant is in good shape. I went out there and I see, maybe it had a little leak here and there, but it wasn't leaking then. It was probably leaking before, and of course you're gonna see some water or whatever it was that was stained there. But, I didn't see anything major wrong with that plant.
I would like to make a motion to defer action on this item until our next budget cycle, so that we can properly get the financial documents in order. And I would, actually, let me see.
If I may, go ahead, Director, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just saying, if I may add, through the design process, because the cost estimates that we have within the preliminary design report are simply that, cost estimates. If we go through the design process, it will refine those cost estimates more, and that's essentially what the finance department is waiting upon, so we have a more accurate fiscal impacts financial analysis to provide. So for now, we wouldn't have the most accurate information for the costs until we complete the actual design.
Just more addition to the financial impacts discussion is that you'll recall when we did the refinancing, we are taking the standby charge of $3.3 million. We have the debt service that's been reduced about $1 million a year-ish. So that's that $1 million that we're getting in the rate study per year over that 5 years. So just wanted to add that.
Okay.
Director Hawkins, if I may, I believe you're the ranking director right now because we lost the president and the vice president.
We lost them both?
Yes. So, may I make a comment?
Please.
Director Vasquez, I truly understand where you're going with this conversation. Yes, your constituents need your fiduciary duty to make sure that the money is spent correctly, but you also have a duty to your customers of whom you sell recycled water to. San Gabriel Valley Water Company being one of them. I take water from Upper District, and when the Whittier Narrows plant goes down, I'm out of recycled water, and my customers have to scramble to get something else, which isn't there because the plumbing is not the same. Once you're out of recycled water, you're out of recycled water. You just can't go and put something else in there. Your fiduciary duty is also to your customers who pay you for that recycled water. It's also the benefit that you provide to those customers that pay you for that recycled water. If the plant goes offline, if it blows up, if a mechanical failure goes, your customers that rely on you to buy that recycled water and pay you for that recycled water, it's not there. If you wait until budget cycle and the plant blows up and it's out of commission for 30, 60, 90 days, you're not getting income and your customers are going to be totally peeved at you because you weren't receptive in making sure that your facilities were running at 100% and had available water at beckoning call. So I would ask you to please consider the matter, think about your customers as well as your constituents. The fiduciary duty of the directors to make sure that the money is spent accurately, correctly, and not a penny more. You have a fine firm in Hazen and Sawyer that has done an assessment. Now they're telling you that you need to change these components because they could blow up tomorrow, they could blow up 60, 90, 100 days, whenever. But there is the potential for the plant to go offline. You're out of recycled water, and there is no substitute for it once it goes out until you put the plant back online.
Has the Rio Hondo pump station ever been offline?
It has been offline temporarily. I think the longest time since I've been here was 24 hours.
Okay. And how many times has it gone offline since 1993?
I wouldn't have that information with me right now. I'd have to look at older records. But one thing I'd like to point out is that we don't have some of the older records. So I may not have all of that information for you.
So how long have you been here?
10 years.
10 years. And so in the 10 years, it's gone offline once, you said, for 24 hours?
That would be the longest time that I've experienced. It may have been a little bit over the 24 hours, but that was back in 2014 when one of the larger pumps was being worked on, and then the other larger pump, which handles the demands at night, blew out, and we had essentially nothing to handle the higher demands in the evening, and it was a rush, and we had to piece that back together until we could get those pumps fixed. And we got lucky.
Yeah. How many pumps do we have there?
There are 2 larger 700 horsepower pumps, and there's one smaller 350 horsepower pump, and then there's another pump there that's old and it doesn't essentially work. So
Is that pump going to be repaired as part of the...
all of them, I believe, are being addressed in some form. The one that we were planning on addressing in its entirety, I think, was the pump 3, which was the small one that's not functioning at all.
Have we ever had a pump blow up?
Well, I guess back in 2014, the pump 110, the motor actually blew out, and I want to say...
Did it blow up?
It didn't.
A big explosion?
Well, I wasn't there. No one was there, thank goodness. But there was smoke, the smell of fire, and burning electrical components, and then there was a large black mark that actually was on the outside of the shell of the motor that would indicate some sort of blowout to some certain extent.
Right. Now, what sort of maintenance does Inframark do?
They come in, they change the oils, they test for vibrations, they look for leaks. If there's a leak, they have to investigate that further. They have subcontractors, General Pump, Lane, other people come in, professionals who will do the assessment for those pumps, and it really just depends on what the problem is. But general maintenance is usually circulating around, testing the temperature, changing the oil, things of that nature.
Okay. And again, I understand we have infrastructure needs. These are exactly the things that need to be discussed with the purveyors we work with. And I know that a lot of the private water companies understand this because they do this on a daily basis in their facilities, and they understand the importance of investing in infrastructure. However, at this moment, our water sales have declined drastically. A few of our purveyors are suing Central Basin over the meter charge, so that's having an impact on our budget. And I'm really interested in moving forward with this particular item during the new budget and during the new fiscal year, when we can carefully look at the impact that this is having. So I would like to, the other thing is, I certainly want to get an opinion from our attorneys about how this contract can be issued. I would like to get a copy of the contract with Hazen and Sawyer. That has never been brought before the board. It says here the action that was given in March or February of this year, when this was originally recommended to the board, was that the board authorized the general manager to execute a contract with Hazen and Sawyer and complete the conditions assessment test. So I've never seen a written contract. I would like to see the contract in writing that Mr. Hunt signed with Hazen and Sawyer.
Director, it's attached as Exhibit D to this item.
D? Is that the current contract?
Correct.
That's the current contract. It's not the contract that you want us to enter into.
The amendment is Exhibit E.
Okay.
Exhibit D is on page 184.
184. Okay. 184. Okay, so I'll definitely need time to read through it. You said 184, and this is the one you're proposing that we extend?
Exhibit E is the one we're proposing for Amendment 1.
Okay, so I'll definitely need time to review the contract.
So again, I'd like to defer action on this item for further study, and I'll go ahead and make that a motion.
So is that going to be substitute motion to what I believe John made? Right?
There's really a motion on the floor.
Yes, the original motion by Director Oscui, seconded by Director Origi, was to approve staff's recommendation, and now the substitute motion by Director Vasquez is to defer action until more information is received.
And I'll second that.
Director Chacon?
Yes.
Which motion we voted on?
To defer action. Director Heldman? Director Origi?
No.
Director Hawkins?
Yes.
Director Oscui? Director Vasquez?
Yes?
Director Camacho Rodriguez?
Yes.
President Apodaca? Motion does not pass.
Back to the original motion. Pretty good.
Are we taking the original motion given that the director that made the motion is no longer here?
Yeah, this is like a law school exam. I've never had this happen before. I believe the motion is still properly pending.
Okay. So now the motion is to approve staff's recommendation. Director Chacon?
Who made the motion and who seconded that motion?
Director Oscui, seconded by Director Origi.
No.
Director Heldman? Director Origi?
Yes.
Director Hawkins?
No.
Director Oscui? Director Vasquez?
No?
Director Camacho Rodriguez?
No.
President Apodaca? Motion does not pass.
Okay. Let's hope the Rio Hondo stays intact. Here it comes.
Give us a couple of easy ones. Wanted to go over the action this schedule for the next couple of months for the district offices. As you know, today we have a board meeting. We are closed the 27th and 28th for our Thanksgiving holiday, and the 29th for our scheduled Friday off. December 3rd is our Water Resources Committee. December 11th is the Engineering and Operations Committee. December 12th is the Admin and Finance Committee. And December 23rd is the schedule for the board meeting. The district office is closed on the 24th and 25th for Christmas. We're proposing that the district office is closed on the 27th for the scheduled Friday off. We're proposing that the office be closed on December 26th and that the employees use vacation for that day.
Move the item. Staff is using their vacation day. What opposition would you have for that?
This is just to...
The only day we'll be open on the week, Christmas week, is the 23rd. Then we have the 24th and 25th off. The 26th would be a work day, and the 27th would be a holiday.
Right, okay, so you're not changing the schedule of the meetings or anything?
No, we just want to have employees take that, everybody takes that 26th off, and we'll close the office that day.
Okay, I'll second that.
Director Chacon?
Yes.
Director Heldman? Director Origi?
Aye.
Director Hawkins?
Yes.
Director Oscui? Director Vasquez?
Yes?
Director Camacho Rodriguez?
Yes.
President Apodaca? Motion passes.
Item 14 is something I'm sure you're all in favor of. Approval to solicit proposals for executive recruitment services for the general manager recruitment in accordance with the general manager hiring policy in the administrative code. As you recall, the administrative code per the state audit specifies how we are to go out for proposals. The president of the board will select an ad hoc committee which includes 3 board members, 1 member agency manager, 1 Metro Water District assistant manager, 1 of our retail agencies or other water professional. Right now, we'd like to go out and require a search firm to do this. It will be done in accordance with our procurement policy. The idea is we would post this probably by next Monday and hopefully have a selection for the board in January.
Move the item.
Well, I have actually a couple of questions around this. Now, the search firm, what is that going to cost?
Normally, they're about $25,000 to $40,000. We don't know until we get the proposals in.
Yeah, you know, I have been an elected official locally in a municipality, and the 2 positions that the council, or in this case the board of directors, can hire are the general counsel and also the general manager. And in my opinion, I believe that this board has an obligation to vet the candidates and really see this whole process through. I don't see why we should have to hire a search firm to conduct a search. There are plenty of agencies and organizations, water organizations like Aqua, Special Districts Association, that in my opinion can help us get the word out about the search that we're going to engage in. I think we have a very capable staff member in the Human Resources Department that can also be very instrumental in getting the job description out. And so I would like to have a discussion with my colleagues about that option, and also have a conversation with my colleagues about the option of having the board vet the applicants and having the board create a special committee consisting of board members only to go through the applicants and to make the proper selection. So I'd like to open that up as a discussion with my colleagues.
I agree with my colleague Vasquez. Before, I'm going on my fourth term now, so before other people have come on board, we had control of hiring either the general manager or our law firm. And somehow or another, it was taken from us. And I think we should go back to the process. We don't need a board to tell us who to hire, who not to hire. We don't need a panel to tell us who to hire, who not to hire, especially a panel that doesn't sit on this board. That individual might fit them okay, but for them to try to push that individual on us, I don't agree with.
And we have a job description. We have a job description that details the qualifications that we're looking for as an agency. That includes, the educational background, the experience in water. We have all of that, and so I just don't understand why, if we're in such a crunch, we would need to hire some spend probably $30,000 to $40,000, go through a whole process of putting out an RFP that is really more resource and time consuming when it can just be done in-house.
In order to do what the director proposes, you need to change the admin code. Right now, your admin code requires that you do it the way we specified in here. So I can agendize for next month to change the admin code if that's what the...
And if we don't happen to move or find somebody at the time, whatever time runs out, it's okay. We can appoint somebody from here, or we can appoint somebody from the Met until we find the right person.
That's up to you, not my problem.
Right. I agree. So we'd like to go ahead and bring back the admin code so that we can make the proper adjustments. And we can consider making the proper adjustments in the policy so we can move forward on this. In the interim, I would like to ask that I guess we have to make the adjustment in the policy first. Okay.
Mr. Hawkins.
Did you want to?
Yes. Okay. Director, you said it should be just the board members?
Well, everyone here.
I would also ask that you consider having your HR person and your attorney there present to make sure that things are done in accordance with legality and whatever. So it's not just the board members, but you have staff members included in that.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, they'll be there in a staff level.
Are we doing a motion, or are we just extending this to the future? What are we actually doing?
The motion is to bring back the policy on the admin policy, Part 3, Article 1, Part 3, Chapter 1, Article 1.2, for reconsideration of the board.
We have a motion?
Yes.
Do we have a second?
Director Chacon?
Yes.
Director Heldman? Director Origi?
Yes.
Director Hawkins?
Yes.
Director Oscui? Director Vasquez?
Yes.
Director Camacho Rodriguez?
Yes.
President Apodaca? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Okay,
Yay! Thanks, Dan. I told you, you're the better one out of all of you. too.
Okay, it looks like we're, item number 15, which is the Sativa Water District.
It's give and take, Director. It's
It
give and
is,
take.
I know.
Take a look. As the board is aware, we have put a proposal in the board's direction to take over the Sativa Water District. Our proposal was accepted by the county. They scheduled us for an interview on Tuesday. In order that our proposal and the interview accurately represent the sentiments of the board, we put together the principles under which the proposal was prepared. I want to make sure the board is in accordance with that. One is that Sativa will be an improvement district of Central Basin. Second, all the costs incurred by Sativa Improvement District will be funded from Sativa ratepayers or grants. 3, our staff working on Sativa Water District will charge their time and appropriate overhead to the Sativa Improvement District. 4, Central Basin may use its operating funds and reserves to assist Sativa Improvement District cash flow up to a board-determined limit, or recoup any such cash flow advances from Sativa rates, grants, and loans with a 1.5% per year interest charge. 5, governance of the Sativa Improvement District will be by the entire board of the district. 6, Central Basin's governance and management administration of Sativa will be totally transparent. And 7, Central Basin commits to open communications with the citizens of Sativa. I think these principles put a firm foundation for our ability to appropriately represent the benefits that we can provide Sativa. So I'd like the board to.
Thank you.
Mr. Hawkins, if I might, would the board entertain an 8th item, and that is to have specific guidelines for an affiliate transactions between Central Basin and the new entity?
I don't know what that means, sir.
The new entity would be an affiliate of Central Basin, even though it's, because who will be the board members? It'll be the directors.
It would be improvement district. It's legally defined, I've got an opinion from the attorney,
As a separate-
as a separate entity within the district that you can capture costs within.
Within the district. So
Yeah,
therefore
but
it
capture
isn't-
costs within the district to that specific benefit area.
Therefore, it is an
benefit.
affiliate of Central
Yeah.
Basin.
Okay.
So that my thought process is that there be a guideline that specifies what can and cannot be done by an affiliate transaction between the two entities. I know
I guess-
item 2,
Are you getting at the idea of having sort of a restricted account, restricted
or a
funds?
guideline or something that spells out what.
My suggestion, that director, is that if we are selected, we will have 4 or 5 months of negotiation in which we're going to have to spell this and develop the improvement district, at which time all of that will be spelled out in legal documents, including the improvement district.
I'm just putting it on the table for directors to give
Yeah.
thought to.
Okay.
That's a good idea.
Actually, I'd like you, not right now, but expand on that before we do all this, because what you just said, I'm not sure, I was relating, and this is just me, I didn't even talk to Kevin about this, that this is more like a redevelopment agency inside us. It was the way I was viewing this. What you just said, I don't know if that is compatible or not.
But yeah, let's talk about it. I think it's important for us to protect Central Basin.
I'm not against
Because
it,
of,
I just don't
yeah.
understand it.
Yeah,
To be honest, I really don't understand it.
yeah. But yeah, let's talk about it.
Okay, can we go ahead with what we have here today then?
Move the item.
Second.
Roll call.
Director Chacon?
Yes.
Director Heldman? Director Urigi?
Aye.
Director Hawkins?
Yes.
Director Osculi? Director Vasquez?
Yes.
Director Camacho Rodriguez?
Yes.
President Apodaca? Motion passes.
Okay, looks like we're going to go to information items.
No, we have one more action item, sir, item 16.
Oh, there's a 16, okay.
Yeah, item 16, and this is something, this year I've noticed that we have a couple of issues in the water industry that are fairly dramatic. The PFAS issue in water quality, the changes in the state project contract, and Colorado River law changing. So, and also we have the issue that has been brought up many times, where I need to communicate as much as possible with the elected officials. So when we looked at the budget and we started budgeting this year, the directors have a $4,000 travel and conference allowance. It simply doesn't allow a director to do all the things that they need to do at this time. We get certain benefits when the director's unmet overall, and we save from that, and the appointed directors don't take it, but the other directors will be out of money very quickly and will not have money to continue to do, and this is a year when I think this education is needed. So my proposal is a one-time thing, that we basically double the director's travel allowance this year from 4,000 to 8,000. Again, just in recognition of the type of year we're having this year and the need for communication out there.
I would like to, just for clarification, the admin code says, what does the admin code say with respect to the travel budget for each of the, or actually the education and conference budget, because that's really what it is, education and conference. What does the admin code say?
I have no idea right now, Director.
Okay, because my understanding is that the admin code says it's 7,000, right?
So that needed to be updated, Director. I don't remember exactly in what year the board changed it to 4,000, and that was never updated. That needs to be updated because for the last couple of years, maybe the last 2, maybe even 3, it's been $4,000, and that was board direction.
I don't remember that we changed it in the admin code. My recollection is that we changed it just in the budget.
Right.
Yeah, so the admin code needed to reflect that action.
So you guys changed it?
Yes, well, I can go ahead and look and see when all of that took place.
Okay.
But that needed to be updated.
So my motion is going to be then that the board authorize the allocation of $8,000 per director for education and conference budget moving forward.
Can I add a comment to that? So if it wasn't changed on the admin code and it's 7,000, then really we're just increasing.
No, it was in the budget, the whole we budgeted for is 4,000, and that's what we're managing to. The board, that was a board-approved item. It's just a typo that the admin code hasn't been updated.
Well, this introduces a complication that I need to comment on. So I don't have the admin code in front of me, and I'm not sure what it says.
Can you bring it up, Albert? It's on the website.
But if the admin code sets a particular number, then in order to change that number, we have to do it by resolution that amends the admin code. And it sounds like that practice wasn't followed recently in the past.
Right.
I suppose you could reduce the number. Oh, no, you couldn't reduce it either. The number in the admin code should be the number that you're living with right now. And if that's 7,000, then you should currently have 7,000.
Again, I would go back without looking at the board minutes and what was done at that time.
Well, the problem is the equal dignity rule is if the board acted by resolution to adopt the admin code with a number, then it can only revise that number with another resolution.
And the resolution adopting the budget may have specified it, that's what I'm saying.
If they adopted it by resolution and amended the code and we just never actually
They never
changed
amended the code, they just adopted the number in
To be safe, I suggest that we look at what was done, whether it was.
Albert's going to bring that up right now.
It's on your screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, the screen is a little odd.
Yeah. So I recall when this discussion took place, and it was never amended in the admin code by way of resolution. It was a discussion that was had during the budget, during the budget discussions. And so the admin code should still reflect $7,000.
Is this proposed motion, is this intended to be a permanent change or a temporary?
No, it's a 1 year.
1 year change?
Expires June 30th.
But if the admin code says it's 7, then we're only increasing it for 1 year for 1,000. Is that the suggestion?
That's why I wanted it clarified.
Yeah.
Well, what weighs in abundance of caution?
Yeah, they're cycling through the admin code in front of my eyes here. There it is.
There it goes. Each director is permitted a budget not to exceed $7,000.
So I understand that there may be an inconsistent miscellaneous resolution that was adopted separately from the admin code.
It was not a resolution. It was a conversation that happened just from the floor by one of the appointed directors during a budget discussion. So there was never a resolution.
Yeah, see, now adopting the budget is totally different than this. I mean, the budget is your sort of anticipated expenditures, but it doesn't bind you to those things.
Right.
So really you have to look at the admin code. It looks to me like your admin code currently says 7,000.
Right.
If you can live with 7,000, you don't have to make a change in my view. If you wanted to increase it to 8,000, then what I would recommend is you direct us to come back with an appropriate resolution. You can put it on consent calendar for the next meeting.
What if we adopt 7 now and we put 1,000 for next month? Or
Well, we don't have to adopt 7 because it's already 7.
I mean, adopt, yeah.
And
So we'll
just, I want
continue
to
with the
make
7
sure.
right now,
Yeah, we
and
can just continue.
put 1,000 on for January or something like that.
Let me make sure I understand the facts, because I am kind of just walking into this, but the reduction to 4,000, that was made as part of a discussion during a meeting when you were adopting the budget, correct?
It was budget cuts.
Budget cuts. Was it reflected in any resolution?
We would probably
No.
have, I don't remember if there was a resolution or not. I can just say, I can give you whatever we have in the minutes, so I would have to look those up when that took effect.
Yeah, it seems to me that the 7,000 is arguably still applicable at this
So we'll
point.
just adopt it?
Yeah, we'll adopt it.
You don't have to do anything to adopt it.
What's that?
Okay.
It is currently in your admin code. You don't need to change, if 7,000 you can live with, you don't need to change anything.
So what do we need to make a motion?
Nothing. He's saying nothing.
We don't do anything then.
If you don't do anything, you have $7,000, which will enable the directors that are concerned about their ability to go to Aqua or Colorado River to be able to go.
So right now, we could just make a motion to increase from 4 to 7.
Well, that's already done.
You don't
Just
need a motion. That's-
adhere to the admin code. The motion would be to adhere to the admin code. And that would-
So
So the motion will be to adhere to the admin code, that each director gets a $7,000 conference and education and conference budget, that we adhere to it.
make that a motion then.
So my motion is that,
Go back to the original.
that we adhere to the $7,000 education and conference budget in our current admin code.
I'll second that.
Director Chacon?
Yes.
Director Heldman? Director Rigi?
Yes.
Director Hawkins?
Yes.
Director Scooey? Director Vasquez?
Yes?
Director Camacho Rodriguez?
Yes.
President Apodaca? Motion passes.
Okay, now we go to the information.
Yeah, item
Is there a
17.
way, because of time, that we can reduce some of the...
Item 17, I canceled the consultant because it's going to take at least half an hour to do right, so they're not here. So item 17 will be deferred to next month.
So Director Hawkins, can I go ahead and make a motion to approve or to receive and file items 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 24, 28, and then also 29? And it just leaves just a couple that we can go through really quickly. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Director Chacon?
Yes.
Director Heldman? Director Rigi?
Yes.
Director Hawkins?
Yes.
Director Scooey? Director Vasquez?
Yes?
Director Camacho Rodriguez?
Yes.
President Apodaca? Motion passes.
Okay, it seems like you skipped 23.
Yes.
The items that you're going to...
So the local chambers of commerce, I would like to make a motion to approve the joining of the local chambers of commerce in the Central Basin Service Area.
I'll second that.
Well, this is listed as an information item. I'm concerned that making a motion based on that may not give the public proper notice of what was contemplated.
Okay, so, well, according to the item that is on the agenda, it says here,
Is it part of the staff report?
okay, it says for information purposes. Okay, so then I'd like to just request that it be brought back at the regular board meeting as an action item. I'll make a motion to bring that back as an action item at the next regular meeting.
Okay, do we need a second on that? Okay, I'll second that.
Director Chacon?
Yes.
Director Heldman? Director Rigi?
Yes.
Director Hawkins?
Yes.
Director Scooey? Director Vasquez?
Yes?
Director Camacho Rodriguez?
Yes.
President Apodaca? Motion passes.
Okay, now I'm not sure, is there any of those that are left that you did?
Yeah, 26, I was reading the admin code with respect to the procurement of legal services. and related costs, and I wanted to bring this item for discussion and action at the next board meeting. Maybe at our committee meeting, we can talk about this. The same issues I'd like to address with respect to the board having the authority. We're constantly reminded that we only have the authority to hire and fire the general manager and the attorneys, and I believe that it should be at the sole discretion of this board. So I think we need a change in policy.
26, make a motion to bring it up at the next.
At the next, committee meeting, so that we can eliminate the committees and, we create a committee.
Maybe we could get clarification of what you're looking for so that we'll get all the information at that.
Yes,
I'll second that.
Okay.
Director Chacon?
Yes.
Director Heldman? Director Rigi?
Yes.
Director Hawkins?
Yes.
Director Osculi? Director Vasquez?
Yes.
Director Camacho Rodriguez?
Yes.
President Apalaca? Motion passes.
Okay, so it looks like we've covered all of the information items.
With the exception of the weekly report.
Oh, okay, we got one more then. I'm sorry, I thought okay.
Number 27. Yeah, and I just want to make a motion for to resume the weekly reports. So I'll go ahead and make that motion.
I'll second that motion.
Legal, is that also, this is a similar situation with item 23. This is an information item. Would it just need to be agendized as an action at the following meeting?
What was the I didn't hear what the motion.
Director Vasquez made a motion to resume the weekly report, but this is an information item, item number 27.
So I'll go ahead and amend the motion.
Wait, let me make sure I understand. So the weekly report is an item that is normally placed on the agenda? Or it's a staff item, it's a report generated by staff?
We generate it to the director. We used to do it every week. We canceled it at the beginning of July. Some of the directors want to bring it back. We've offered to bring it back on a bi-weekly basis in this thing here. We're going to start doing that next month.
Well, this is the background. So I've been requesting the weekly report that has always been given to the board, which details the work that's been done by the staff, the meetings that are available.
We just lost our quorum.
Okay. Okay, and so I've asked Kevin on numerous occasions to produce that because it helped keep the directors informed of what was happening, and he refused to do it. He told me no, that I needed to bring it before the board, and that he wanted to get a board vote on
The reason
this.
I was asking is because it is not a Brown Act action to request the staff to do something, right? So in other words, for a great example is research this topic and bring it back to us at the next meeting, right? That's not an item that requires an agenda.
You might want to ask. You might want to fill him in on that.
This might qualify for that because you're essentially asking for a staff to provide you with a report. So on a weekly basis. So I think this is a situation where you could take action on, so-called action on this, provided that a majority of you wants to direct staff to come back with the reports on a weekly basis. Does that make sense?
Sure.
So we can do that now.
Yeah, you can do that.
So we'll
That's
go
my
ahead.
long-winded way of saying you can do that now.
So is there a motion required for that?
I think the general manager would prefer to see that a majority of the board is requesting it before he
Okay,
takes the
so go ahead and make a motion to have the general manager reinstate the weekly report.
I'll second that.
Is that the motion, or was it to have?
Yes.
That was a motion.
But I mean, pursuant to what the council said was to a board find out if they wanted it, so therefore.
It's like a poll. I mean, this is
Dan, you're on a roll here, don't spread.
That was when he said that you have to do a motion, and that was why, I know.
There's a part of the Brown Act that says that. So, Director Origi, there's a part of the Brown Act that says that the board or the governing body can refer topics to staff and then have them bring it back at a subsequent meeting. So I'm interpreting this to be that kind of thing. It doesn't say how you take the action. So what I'm gathering is that the general manager, before he undertakes this expense, wants to confirm that a majority of the board has asked.
The motion is to bring it back and get a confirmation of the board.
No, he says just to approve it now.
Was to direct staff to resume the reports.
Call for the question.
Director Chacon?
Yes.
Director Heldman? Director Rigi?
No.
Director Hawkins?
Yes.
Director Osculi? Director Vasquez?
Yes.
Director Camacho Rodriguez?
Yes.
Motion does not pass.
Hey, you win some, you lose some.
Yeah, that's true. That's how it is, huh?
Okay, I want to make sure we covered covered all of the information items, which I think we have. Closed session has already been taken care of. We're down to item number 35, which is general counsel's report.
No report.
No report. Item number 36, general manager's report.
We've already talked about the district office closures, and I think that's it.
Where's the cranberry sauce?
Okay. I can't, did he say?
No other comment.
No comment, okay. Director's reports.
We did read it.
Each director would make any comments?
Director Camacho, do you have any comments?
No, have a wonderful week. Thank you.
And I do have a request for future agenda items, and that's to bring back the policy on the demands and warrants, which we have had, we want clarification on the function of the demands and warrants, and also the district severance policy. We'd like to bring back that for discussion. And then also we talked about bringing back the policy for the general manager selection, and also the procurement policy for the general counsel selection.
That's item number 38. We'll take that for item number 38. Comments from the director?
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy holidays, have a good Thanksgiving, be safe in your travels.
Director?
I've always believed in miracles, but today I seen one. Thank you very much, Dan.
And happy Thanksgiving, and we'll see everybody at the next board meeting is adjourned.
I didn't give away the story.